Incredible moment, little girl, 6, questions CEO's identity. Janitor's unexpected silence revealed. Lily's fingers tightened around her mother's hand as they stepped into the lush, polished atrium of the corporate building. She beamed, her wide eyes drinking in the glint of chandeliers and the rhythmic click of heels against marble floors. Most people glided by in tailored suits, their faces masked with self-importance, yet Lily felt the invisible weight resting heavily on her mother's shoulders. She saw it the way her mom's tired gaze flitted, ashamed of her worn uniform amid the glitz. "Mom, why does everyone look so fancy?" Lily whispered, a lump of urgency settling in her throat. Her mother offered a tight smile, but her eyes spoke volumes of unacknowledged fatigue. For Lily, the question wasn't just about clothes, it was about value. As they navigated through the crowd, it seemed as though an unspoken hierarchy hung in the air, invisible but palpable. Then, amidst the clamor, she spotted him. Mr. Thompson, the CEO, stood upright, his chest puffed, radiating authority in an immaculate suit. Lily felt an inexplicable pull. She wriggled free from her mother's grasp. "I want to ask him something," she declared, her voice cutting through the murmur. As she approached, the laughter of the grown-ups faded, the spotlight falling on her. "Excuse me, Mr. Thompson," she called out, confidence fueling each word. "What makes you the boss?" The question echoed sharply, causing heads to turn and snap back, laughter erupting before anyone quite knew why. Thompson smirked, which only amplified the tension. In that moment, as laughter faded to awkward silence, Lily sensed the chasm yawning beneath the polished facade. She caught her mother's eye, and a small crack in her mom's smile revealed the storm of emotions beneath: betrayal, pride, sorrow tangled in a knot in her throat. What did a boss mean if not visibility? Did her mother, tirelessly scrubbing floors in the very shadows of this extravagant world, not deserve a greater acknowledgment? Lily's heart raced. She had pulled a latch on a door she didn't know existed. "Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As the chatter resumed around her, Lily's mind spiraled with thoughts she couldn't quite articulate. She stole glances at her mother, who was invisibly mopping the floor near the buffet, and noticed dismissive glances aimed her way. It struck a chord deep within. How could something so small as a job label someone as lesser? The unease twisted in her gut. Should she bring this injustice to light? Would her mother be proud, or would it unleash a tide of embarrassment they couldn't swim against? Just then, an unexpected hush fell over the gathering, a charged moment hanging like a countdown, waiting for release. Lily stood taller, her insides tightening, ready to voice thoughts she had never spoken, ready to defend the very essence of her life and her mother's silent struggles, standing on the precipice of a truth powerful enough to crack the glass ceiling of pretense. A gust of both determination and fear swirling within her heart. What would come next? Would their lives, together or apart, be forever changed? The question loomed heavy, the silence pregnant with possibility, leaving everyone on edge, holding their breath. As the sound of the crowd faded into a distant murmur, Lily felt the weight of expectation settle upon her shoulders. Each heartbeat thrummed louder in her ears, amplifying her nerves. She took a small step forward, her eyes darting from Mr. Thompson's smug expression to the onlookers who now held their breath in collective anticipation. A dreamlike haze enveloped her, a desperate, fluttering desire to break through the barriers of judgment that stood tall and steadfast around her mother. Mustering her courage, Lily clutched at the frayed edges of what her mother had taught her about dignity and respect. "Why is it okay for him to be the boss and for you to clean?" Lily's question blurted out, edged with the innocence and fierceness only a child could possess. She searched Mr. Thompson's face, looking for a glimmer of understanding. The laughter from the crowd evaporated. The room transformed, morphing into a sparkling stage where Lily embodied both defiance and hope. Mr. Thompson's smirk faded, replaced with a quizzical furrow of his brow. For the first time, he seemed to grapple with the implications of his status, a weight that had always gone unchecked. "Sweetheart," he began, his voice steady but edged with discomfort, "everyone has a role to play. But why does that role mean you have to be better?" Lily interjected with the blunt honesty of youth. Her words hung in the air, shattered silence throwing their meaning into sharp relief. She could sense her mother's breath hitch, a mixture of fear and pride dancing in her eyes. The moment felt electric, a catalyst ready to ignite something profound in Lily herself. In the depths of her 6-year-old soul, she realized she was learning to advocate for herself, for her mother, for all the unsung contributors of this glitzy world. Across the gathering, murmurs erupted as some began to consider her words. Lily could see their expressions shift, curiosity replacing the disdain they had reserved for her mother. The realization felt monumental. Perhaps the very act of questioning authority wasn't just a display of defiance but a quiet testament to the interwoven narratives of dignity and worth. Yet the adrenaline coursing through her veins clashed with an undercurrent of doubt. What if they turned against her mother? What if this act of bravery was a tipping point into scorn rather than respect? As fear crept in, it mingled with an unfamiliar strength. She sensed it then, a burgeoning desire not just to echo her mother's struggles but to elevate them into dialogue, to transform silence into power. In that pivotal moment, Lily took a deep breath and stood firm, aware that voices like her mother's had been drowned out for far too long. The presence of others felt both threatening and invigorating. In one bold act, she had unraveled a truth lodged deep within the corporate fabric, the precarious nexus of prestige and humility. As Mr. Thompson stumbled over his words, attempting to regain composure, Lily felt her mother's gaze wash over her like sunlight breaking through clouds. She seared a spark of awareness in this space of pretense, crumbling constructs of hierarchy. But this encounter had unleashed something deeper within her. A flicker of ambition ignited, the possibility that she could challenge the status quo, not just for her mother, but for herself. What was her next move? Lily pondered this question as eyes sharpened on her, each moment thrumming with the potential for change. The crowd, which moments ago had dismissed her, now seemed to lean in, waiting for the next word from a child who just dared to challenge authority. Yet beneath the surface, a confrontation brewed on the horizon. Would she be ready to face the implications of her newfound voice? The fear of failure loomed large, but Lily was committed to exploring the depths of her courage, now quickened by the awareness that her voice mattered. As the stark reality settled in, she realized a decision loomed ahead, one that could pivot the trajectory of her life and the lives of those around her forever. Would she step deeper into the uncomfortable space of truth? With all eyes upon her, the curtain was just lifting, and the stage was set for a grand performance. Awash in the reality of her impulsive bravado, Lily found herself standing on the precipice of potential transformation. The room buzzed with a strange tension, a palpable tenacity that enveloped her, surging with the anticipation of the unknown. Her heart raced, and the intoxicating rush of bravery collided with the tremors of uncertainty. What had she just set in motion? After a moment that seemed to stretch indefinitely, Mr. Thompson blinked, finally redirecting his gaze. His commanding presence felt less daunting now, almost as if it had peeled away a layer of self-assurance, revealing a man grappling with uncomfortable self-reflection. "Perhaps," he replied finally, fumbling with the edges of his suit, "you're too young to understand how the world works." Yet, Lily felt power in that dismissal. "Then teach me," she challenged, emboldened by the shift in atmosphere. "Is it by making people feel small? Because cleaning isn't small. It's important." Her voice filled the space, unyielding and fierce. The murmurs of the crowd rose again, their voices blending into a chorus of disbelief and admiration. Faces that had previously appeared skeptical now bore expressions of curiosity, even inspiration. An undeniable energy radiated from her as she recognized her words not just as innocent inquiry but as a profound challenge to the status quo. A sudden shift clung to the air. A small crack in the veneer of authority echoed a thought she had never clearly articulated until now. She too had something worth saying. She observed her mother from across the room standing still, breath held her eyes reflecting both anxiety and pride. In that moment, Lily understood the duality of courage. It was a slippery path rife with risk yet sprinkled with possibility. However, the intoxicating mixture of adrenaline and resolve began to dissolve, unveiling a silent war within her. Did she dare escalate this confrontation further? What would courage reveal if she pressed harder? The unsteady feeling clawed at her confidence as doubt infiltrated the corners of her mind. Was this the moment to risk the safety net her mother had forged, or was this an opportunity to speak for all those unheard? Lily, her mother's soft plea met her ears, urging caution. She focused on Mr. Thompson, who stood on the brink of defensiveness, his expression betraying mild incredulity. "The world isn't as simple as that," he said, regaining his poise. "I've worked hard. Everyone's role is vital." "Then let us make sure they're recognized," Lily exclaimed defiantly. "Why do we pretend they don't matter? Why can't we say thank you more?" The vulnerability of her question cut deeper than she anticipated, conferring spirit upon her defiance. Implicitly, she recognized that her desire for acknowledgment wasn't just a plea for her mother but for everyone who lived quietly in the shadows of success, yet a creeping sensation flickered in the back of her mind, the thought of the inevitable backlash of this burgeoning uprising. What if Mr. Thompson refused to acknowledge the validity of her argument? What if her courageous heart had only paved the path for critique and ridicule? But the reality was raw. She felt it rise within her like an uncontrollable force, driven by the injustices she had observed over years. She had opened the door to dialogue now, it was her turn to decide whether to step through. As the tide of responses from the crowd undulated around her, Lily took one more absorbing breath, knowing she had the power to shape this reality with just her voice. She glanced back at her mother, whose eyes shimmered with pride, and felt anchored, readying herself for the next vital step. Did she have enough courage to reveal her truth to those around her? With every heartbeat echoing in her ears, she understood that the moment belonged to her to seize, and she finally could see the potential rippling through the voices that had long been silenced. Would Mr. Thompson assist her in unearthing that potential, or would he mitigate it? The conflict loomed on the horizon, painting the air with raw expectation. This was bigger than she had ever imagined. Would she confront him once more, or would the shadows of doubt take hold? The room held its breath as she poised herself for the answer. The air thickened as the crowd awaited Mr. Thompson's response. Lily stood firm, the adrenaline coursing through her veins, igniting every nerve with anticipation. She had thrown down an emotional gauntlet, and now it lay glimmering between them, begging for acknowledgment or rejection. Uncertainty flickered in Mr. Thompson's eyes as he seemed to wrestle with her challenge. "I understand the importance of every role," he finally said, though his voice was less assured than before. "But the world operates on deeper complexities." "You complexities masked as excuses," Lily interjected, her resolve crystallizing. She would not let his words erase the momentum she had summoned. She felt nourished by the intensity of the moment, the layers of a systemic hierarchy peeling away to reveal the raw truth of voices suppressed for far too long. The onlookers shifted, their expressions oscillating between shock and something akin to hope. A couple of heads nodded in agreement, while others wore faces of disappointment. There it was, the gnawing awareness that these roles were undervalued and overlooked. This realization electrified Lily with the knowledge that confronting Mr. Thompson might shatter her security, yet it could also forge a path in uncharted territory. "People do important work," she asserted, her voice steady. "They deserve to be recognized. Is it so hard to say thank you when you know they're the ones keeping everything afloat?" Her fingers trembled slightly, but she held them aloft, a silent protest against the invisible barrier of silence that perpetuated the notion of inferiority. Thompson opened his mouth to speak, but this time only a soundless exhalation emerged. He seemed momentarily suspended, grappling with the enormity of her words. Behind him, shadows flickered as staff members exchanged glances. Some appeared uncomfortable, a few even shifted their weight as if yearning to participate in the conversation. Lily locked eyes with him, fighting her instinctual urge to yield to authority. Would he shrink from the challenge or rise to it? Age was no shield against honesty. She had realized that confronting the status quo was essential, not merely for her voice but for a collective truth long buried. Why do you hide behind corporate facades? She continued, feeling the pulse of the crowd riding with her words. People need to feel valued. They need to know they matter beyond the titles or tasks assigned to them. Mr. Thompson flinched slightly, and for a fleeting moment, Lily glimpsed a flicker of truth surfacing in his steadfast demeanor, but just as quickly, it was concealed again. Did she possess the power to awaken that hidden recognition? What if he, powerful as he was, saw her as a mere inconvenience? From the corner of her eye, she spotted her mother again, her tension palpable but emboldened by the strength Lily was showcasing. That encouragement ignited a fierce determination within her, and she sensed that whatever happened next could alter her destiny irrevocably, but more importantly, it was a chance to expose the hidden strength she didn't even know dwelled within her. Isn't this your chance to teach me? Her challenge refocused on him, a spark woven with curiosity and defiance. Acknowledge the contributions of others. Show us that leadership is about lifting others up, not just about power. Silence hung in the air, teetering on the edge of revelations unsaid, and Lily could almost hear the soft heartbeat of possibilities unfolding around her. Would Mr. Thompson capitulate to her demands, or would he dismiss her as just a child, too young to grasp the intricacies of the business world? In that pivotal moment, the weight of expectation shifted. Every whisper and held breath formed a collective hope that surged in contrast to her growing anxiety. Uncertainty mingled with fervor as she prepared herself to confront whatever would follow. What road lay ahead in this strategic face-off? The moment stretched, and Lily realized she might not just earn recognition for others but for herself as well. Each heartbeat resonated. With the prospect of an identity that went beyond the roles assigned to her, how far could she press on this fragile thread? She opened her mouth, ready to push her case even further, when suddenly, a commotion erupted behind her, a forgotten voice finally stepping into the light. Lily turned, heart pounding, drawn by the question that had shifted everything. Who was about to speak, and what truth would that bring to the surface? Lily's heart raced as a familiar voice broke through the tension, resonating clearly amid the crowd. It was Marcus, the building's janitor, known not for his presence in meetings but for his diligent work sweeping the floors. He stepped forward, face framed by wisps of gray hair, and cleared his throat, drawing the attention of both the gathering and Mr. Thompson. Actually, Marcus began, his voice steady despite the audience's surprise, I think it's time for some honesty. We're all under the same roof, aren't we? But some of us are seen, while others are merely invisible. The crowd murmured, as a quiet defiance sparked in his words. Lily felt a wave of relief wash over her. This was precisely what had been bubbling beneath the surface, a raw recognition that needed to transcend her confrontation with Mr. Thompson. She had believed others would join her cause, but she hadn't anticipated Marcus stepping into the light so boldly. Mr. Thompson's mask cracked slightly. His eyes darted between Marcus and Lily, the weight of their words pressing upon him. This isn't the forum for grievances, he stammered, trying to grasp control of the moment. But Marcus, undeterred, continued. It's more than complaints, he retorted, fiercely passionate. We put in hours that often go unnoticed, keeping this place running while those in your position sit above us. When was the last time you stepped outside of your office to say thank you? Or to truly listen? Lily felt the embers of her conviction reignite. This was a moment for both of them to break down the barriers of hierarchy that the corporate world had carefully constructed. Exactly. She echoed, her voice stronger now. We are voices that can dismantle the facade. What we do matters, and it's about time you recognize that. Mr. Thompson's demeanor shifted again, his internal struggle evident as chips of authority began crumbling away. Did he now realize the gravity of their collective thoughts and the power within those words? What could she offer to bring this dialogue to a point of reckoning? Each heartbeat thudded in Lily's chest, a reminder of her own vulnerability against this titan of industry, yet the boldness bubbling within her felt like an awakening. Could she leverage this visceral connection with Marcus to effect real change? Suddenly, a doubt lingered: was this display of unity from Marcus and her truly enough? Or would it create a deeper rift, pushing Mr. Thompson into a defensive position, one where he would dismiss them as mere distractions? The crowd, formerly hushed, began whispering amongst themselves, revealing a landscape of thought. Lily recognized their collective curiosity and unease as a turning tide. She seized the moment. Maybe this company needs a change, not just a thank you. How about some real feedback mechanisms? Maybe, just maybe, if you acknowledged everyone's contributions, we'd all be invested enough to lift this place together. With each word, she felt different, an emerging leader not just pleading for acknowledgement but proposing a paradigm shift. The silence was charged with potential and every eye in the room shifted back towards Mr. Thompson, expectant, questioning. It was a crucial moment, teetering precariously between resolution and revolution. Would he take this as an opportunity to embrace a new vision, or would he retreat into the archaic paradigms of the past? As the second stretched, Lily realized the truth: the outcome depended on not just Mr. Thompson's decision, but her ability to shape this dialogue moving forward. She had stepped into her power, but the paths ahead still twisted with uncertainty. That charged silence, another voice chimed in from the back of the crowd, echoing a sentiment Lily had not yet considered. The revelation hung in the air, its implications vast. Would their unity be enough to summon a real change, or had they awakened something far more volatile? What if, the voice proposed, barely audible but laden with weight, we all started to question not just the roles we play, but who we have become in doing so? Lily's mind raced as the implications of that question settled over her like a thick cloud. Who had they become in their roles? The weight of identity and purpose lingered, demanding she delve deeper into her own thoughts. She glanced at the audience, her colleagues, once mere silhouettes against the backdrop of corporate indifference, now flickered with intrigue and contemplation. The tension in the room crackled like electricity. It dawned on her this wasn't simply about Mr. Thompson's perceived authority, it was about their own sense of self-worth and how they'd allowed it to be defined by the very structures they were challenging. Had they been complicit in their own invisibility? Maybe we need to look inwards, she proposed, her voice strong yet tinged with hesitation. What do our roles tell us about our value? Are we defined solely by our titles, or can we reshape them? The crowd was audibly reacting now, some nodding, others shifting uncomfortably as they processed her words. Marcus stood by her side, a quiet strength infusing her with courage. She could feel the collective heartbeat of the assembly, the awakening realization that they held more power than they had previously assumed. In this moment, Lily recognized the slow and often painful evolution of self-awareness and agency she had struggled with herself. Mr. Thompson remained silent, skepticism swirling in his eyes, but then a flicker of something, perhaps curiosity, crossed his face. Lily pressed on, emboldened. We need to foster a culture where everyone's contributions are valued. What if we implemented a system where we all have a voice, like regular feedback sessions? It's time to rethink how we measure success. As she spoke, each suggestion acted as a small chisel to the stone of corporate apathy, her ideas carving out room for growth and genuine dialogue. With every suggestion, she felt her own growth solidifying. This was no longer merely a plea for recognition, but a battle for transformation. However, doubts mingled with ambition in her mind. Would they ever fully commit to this new course, or were they dancing around a fire that might burn them in the end? Would Mr. Thompson see them as a threat or as allies in reshaping the company's identity? The murmurs around her grew cautious, the air thickening with potential for backlash or acceptance. Then, a voice, more confident than before, came forth from the crowd. We need to ask ourselves why we've allowed this culture to exist for so long. It begins with us. Who have we let ourselves become? Self-reflection. Vulnerability. These concepts felt radical yet essential. Lily realized her desire for change was not just about the workplace, it extended to her own perception of herself within these walls. She took a deep breath. This moment demanded authenticity. "I'll be honest," she began, vulnerability washing over her. "For too long, I've felt like just another cog in the machine. I've worried more about fitting in than contributing. But I'm ready to change that, and I hope you are too." The silence that followed was both daunting and exhilarating. Every face was turned toward her, an open canvas of empathy and curiosity. It was a chance for transformation, not just for their professional identities but for their personal ones as well. Mr. Thompson shifted, visibly grappling with the moment. His hesitation suggested he was contemplating a response that could either alienate or unite them. Would he acknowledge their fears, their aspirations? Or dismiss them, sending them back into remoteness? As Lily prepared herself for whatever might come next, she understood the stakes had risen. This was more than a workplace discussion, it was the beginning of a deeper exploration of identity, purpose, and the potential for profound change within and beyond these walls. Just as Lily steeled herself for a confrontation with Mr. Thompson, a soft voice piped up again from the back, this time with a question that sparked a tremor deep within her. "But what if we're not just questioning who we are, but who we could become?" Lily inhaled sharply as the question reverberated through the room, the air suddenly thick with possibility and tension. The weight of the inquiry hung there with implications that exceeded her own self-discovery and fueled a collective fire within the audience. Who could they become? It was a profound challenge that left her heart racing at the prospect of transformation. She felt the gaze of Mr. Thompson settle heavily upon her. Sweat beaded at her brow as she dared to meet his eyes. This was no longer a mere dialogue about roles within the company, it had morphed into something more, an examination of personal growth and the audacity to reimagine futures. What if they could shift from passive employees to empowered individuals? Could we, she began, voice steady but strained, actually reshape our identities here? With each word, she sensed the gravity of the moment escalating, not just for herself, but for everyone present. Transformation was no small feat. The very foundations of their corporate lives felt precarious, and yet, it was in this vulnerability that Lily saw potential. The murmurs in the room shifted again, some people leaned in, eager to explore the new path she was paving. Others remained skeptical. Doubt tinged her initial burst of courage. Could they really step into the unknown together? Or would they retreat to safety, tethered to titles that defined limits rather than aspirations? With her heart pounding, she seized the moment. If we want to redefine who we are as a team, we must start by identifying what we truly value, she proposed, moving past fear. Success should not be measured by how we conform but by how we innovate, how we nurture our individual strengths. There was a flicker of interest in Mr. Thompson's posture, the critic's facade cracking, revealing a hint of the leader he might become. This moment demanded more than any planned speech. It required authenticity and an openness to a radical change. What happens when we stop hiding? A voice from the back called again, this one infused with both doubt and hope. Lily felt that voice resonate with her own, a mirror reflecting her questions and angst. It encouraged her deeper into the conversation. We have to embrace discomfort to realize our potential, she insisted, her voice gaining momentum. We can explore not only who we've been but every possibility that lies ahead. Every idea, no matter how unconventional, should be welcomed if it fosters growth. Don't we owe ourselves that pursuit? As the room sat in silence, she began to catalogue the faces in the crowd. Marcus wore a look of inspired determination, while others showed mixed emotions, curiosity battling with their ingrained fears. She could almost hear their thoughts. What would it take to break free? What were they afraid of losing? Her intense gaze settled on Mr. Thompson, the verdict still unclear. For the first time, his expression shifted from judgment to contemplation. Lily, he finally spoke, his voice measured but firm, what you're suggesting requires a spirit of risk that we've not cultivated here. Do you believe this approach can genuinely work? In that moment, the question wasn't just directed at her, it was an inquiry into her own resolve. The stakes felt exponentially higher. She had advocated a sea change, but was she ready to swim against the current? Was the entire team prepared to follow her lead into the uncertain waters of self-rediscovery? Lily squared her shoulders, ready to embrace the challenge. "I believe it must work," she asserted, every ounce of conviction igniting within her. "For us to thrive, we must strive not only to be present but to be significant." As she spoke, a sudden flicker of determination surged in her. The dawning realization that this was the inflection point she had longed for began to blend with the unnerving sense of risk. The moment had arrived to confront their immobility, to challenge the status quo. But in the stillness, a question echoed back in her mind: what if Mr. Thompson remained resistant to the change they needed? What if this opportunity slipped through their fingers like grains of sand? Lily understood then that this was merely the beginning. In the face of uncertain outcomes, her heart drummed a resolute rhythm. It was time to prepare for the repercussions. As the tension in the room held its breath, she steeled herself for what she knew was inevitable, the confrontation that could redefine them all. Just as she was about to speak again, a flicker in the corner of her eye caught her attention. There stood the janitor, his expression grave, holding on to secrets wells deeper than the corporate hierarchy itself. What identities lay hidden behind his silence? Lily's heart raced as she caught the janitor's eye, a moment charged with unseen connections. In that breadth of silence, a visceral tension formed between her and the man who usually blended into the background, an unassuming figure in a world of suits and corporate bravado. She could sense a history, a depth behind his quiet demeanor, and it stirred something deep within her. "What do you see when you look at us?" she found herself blurting out, unplanned words cascading from a place she didn't fully understand. The room's collective breath hitched, all eyes shifting to the janitor as if he were an oracle. His lips tightened briefly, the impact of her question seemed to resonate. Could he be the key to unlocking the very transformation she was advocating for? "You all wear masks," he finally responded, his voice steady yet edged with the weight of years spent observing. "But masks can fall. The truth beneath them is what matters." Lily felt the implications of his words ripple through the audience, striking at the heart of their superficial existence. This wasn't merely about job titles, it was an inquiry into their identities. Lily shifted uneasily, aware that within his simplicity lay profound wisdom. She felt a tightening in her chest, a nagging dissatisfaction with her own facade. "What truth do you see in me?" she asked, her voice quieter now, but fervent, fueled by courage and curiosity. "You're seeking something, validation perhaps, or recognition. But it needs to be from within," he replied, meeting her gaze without flinching. His eyes held a depth that caught her off guard. It tested her, forcing her to confront the hollowness she sometimes felt beneath the surface of her own ambitions. In that moment, Lily realized that transformation required more than just a rearrangement of identities, it necessitated a dismantling of the very constructs that had held them captive. She had preached about embracing discomfort, but she found herself pressing into the very essence of it now. Here was a man whose life was spent in the shadows, yet he possessed a clarity that shone brighter than most in the room. As the audience digested his words, confusion and curiosity danced across the faces of her colleagues. Marcus, yet again, appeared emboldened. He leaned forward, internally grappling with an internal struggle that mirrored her own. Others, however, were retreating into themselves, wrestling with their vulnerability. As the janitor's revelations cut deeper, Lily sought to reclaim the moment, channeling the energy that swirled in the air. "We each have a mask. What if we were to remove it?" she proposed, emboldened by the janitor's insight. "What if we were to share our fears, our aspirations, and connect more deeply than roles allow?" A hush fell, everyone teetering on the precipice of an uncomfortable honesty. Doubt lingered in the corners, gnawing at their willingness to engage. She yearned for more than just a dialogue, she craved a tangible shift in their collective consciousness. Mr. Thompson's brow furrowed, signaling a brewing storm of reflection. "Lily, you're asking for self-revelation, for vulnerability," he intoned, aware of the magnitude of such a demand. A flicker of uncertainty crossed his face, and she recognized the fear mixed in with his potential for growth. The janitor's presence had inadvertently brought the entire room to a critical juncture, where they could either spiral into self-doubt or rise to an unprecedented challenge. In this delicate balance, the stakes became personal for each of them. How willing were they to confront themselves? As her pulse quickened, Lily felt the weight of responsibility pressing down once again. The breakthrough she sought hinged not only on her words but on cultivating trust amid the looming chaos of vulnerability. While she grasped for a way to navigate this pivotal moment, the janitor took a step closer, his next words unspooling a truth that had the power to upend everything. What if the beauty of your transformation is not just in who you become, but in who you learn to accept? Lily's heart sank and soared simultaneously, recognizing the profound challenge inherent in those words. Acceptance was not merely a destination, but a lifelong journey toward authenticity. A surge of determination coursed through her. This was the pivotal embrace she needed to orchestrate for herself and for them all, but as each personal truth loomed, she sensed a shadow of doubt creeping back. Could they commit to this intense vulnerability, or were they destined to slip back into their comfortable routines? The depth of her own ambition felt dwarfed against the vast unknown ahead. Before she could voice her resolve, her attention turned to Marcus, who had gone pale, suddenly grappling with an internal revelation that threatened to pull him under. His expression drove her into a new realization: were they truly ready to confront the haunting truths that lay beneath? Caught between inspiration and trepidation, Lily felt the air grow thick with anticipation. The true moment of discovery awaited them. Would they embrace it, or retreat into the safety of their masks? The stillness in the room felt electric, almost tangible as Marcus stared down at his hands, which trembled slightly in his lap. He was just one among many, but in that moment, he contained a universe of struggles and unsaid things. Lily's heart pounded as she sensed his internal war. It echoed her own. "Marcus," she called softly, inviting him to share whatever tumult roiled beneath his veneer. "What are you thinking?" He hesitated, the flicker of vulnerability fighting with his ingrained fear of exposure. The weight of the moment hung heavily in the air. This was not just about her journey anymore. It had shifted, widened, interconnected. Each colleague hungered for meaning, yearning to break free from a cycle that felt desperately ordinary. I don't know if I can do this," Marcus confessed, his voice barely above a whisper. "What if my truth isn't acceptable? What if I am less than you expect?" The collective breath in the room caught like a chorus of gasps, each one a distinct reminder of the fragility of human identity. In Marcus's admission, a mirror reflected the insecurities of their corporate facade. The yearning for foolproof masks plagued them all. Lily felt a rush of empathy. "Marcus, accepting ourselves doesn't mean we are perfect. It means being real. Imagine the power we could harness if we were willing to embrace that imperfection." The words came from a place of cumulative resolve, yet she couldn't shake her own self-doubt. Was she merely delivering lofty ideals while grappling with her own tumult? The janitor had pulled back the curtain on their existential performative dance, making their industry's facades all the more ridiculous. As silence thickened again, she found herself reflecting on the janitor's words about acceptance. If the beauty of transformation is to learn to accept oneself, could they, in this precarious moment, start building a narrative of their own truths? "Let us try something," she suggested, emboldened by desperation. "I'll share first. The truth I've hidden isn't pretty." She took a deep breath, feelings cascading within her. "I feel I've always been in competition with everyone else. Achievements define me, and when I don't meet that standard, I feel horrific emptiness. I fear that without that success, I no longer exist." Everyone's gaze locked onto her, their expressions a mix of shock and intrigue. She seemed to see reflections of their struggles in each face, yet their interest simmered with hesitance. Would they leap with her, or pull back into their protective shells? "Now you, Marcus," she urged gently, coaxing from him the very truth he feared would render him insignificant. "Tell us what lies beneath. No judgment here." His eyes flickered up, hesitant, then met with a focused determination, as if grappling with the path forward. Likewise, others began to chime in, each voice breaking the ambient tension a little further, opening spaces of vulnerability. "I've always felt overlooked," a woman named Sarah whispered as she sat forward, the sincerity unraveling her discomfort. "In the boardroom, I feel like a ghost. It's almost like I'm not allowed to speak my mind. Encouragement rippled around the room as more colleagues shared their suppressed thoughts, fears of inadequacy, doubts about their self-worth, the unrelenting pressure to conform to societal expectations. An unexpected camaraderie began to form, and as barriers crumbled, an authentic dialogue emerged from the depths of the unearthed shadows. But while the waves surged within the room, Lily felt a familiar pulse of anxiety creeping back. She framed her attention back on Marcus's conflicted expression. Those waves of transparency bore turbulence, and the question lingered, was it enough to create a lasting change? Marcus's brow furrowed as he finally spoke, I don't know if this is my truth, but I'm terrified of what people would think if they saw me really fail. I feel trapped, like every misstep means the end for me. Lily saw profound recognition flicker around the room. It was a narrative that resonated far beyond Marcus. It echoed the intrinsic fears they all harbored, fears that suffocated the very essence of who they were. Marcus, failure isn't the end, she interjected, driven by urgency. What if we flipped that narrative? What if we embraced learning? The atmosphere thickened with a renewed sense of purpose, yet beneath it, a gnawing uncertainty lingered. Encouragement teetered close to desperation. They were on the cusp of something transformative, yet the momentum hung by a frayed thread. What discomfort awaited them beyond this shared honesty? As they delved deeper, the next revelation loomed just ahead, haunting them with its potential for upheaval. Would they truly dare to unearth the truths that shattered their carefully crafted identities? Lily couldn't ignore the growing tension. The stakes had escalated, they seemed about to pierce the very heart of their facades, revealing even darker currents. The moment had arrived, an apex of truth was ready to devour them whole. What would emerge from the ashes? Lily stood tall in that lush atrium, transformed and radiant. In a single pivotal moment, she had evolved from a hesitant little girl into a beacon of courage, demanding recognition not only for herself but for all the unsung heroes lurking in the shadows of corporate anonymity. The gathering had unfurled an unexpected dialogue, where her truth, intertwined with Marcus's powerful vulnerability, would reshape the narrative of their shared workplace. As silence stretched across the atrium, Mr. Thompson's reaction unfolded slowly. A shadow of contemplation crossed his features, hinting at an internal battle between maintaining authority and embracing sincerity. Moments earlier, he had personified corporate rigidity, but now he stood before them exposed and challenged. The audience collectively held its breath, awaiting his response as anticipation crackled around them like static in the air. Lily, he finally began, voice wavering, your perspective is refreshing. I've been so consumed with results, I neglected the humanity behind every role in this company. Every word emerged heavier than the last, laden with the realization that leadership required more than mere directives, it demanded empathy and acknowledgment of every contribution. I was wrong to overlook that, he continued, his tone shattering the impermeable veneer. You're right. Everyone here deserves to be seen and valued for what they do. Recognition isn't about titles, it's about dignity. As those sentences cascaded into the air, they held the weight of a promise to rewrite the fabric of their company culture towards inclusivity and appreciation. Lily's heart raced with each affirmation from Mr. Thompson. This wasn't just a fluke, his recognition signaled an unwavering commitment to growth. Yet, an even greater transformation thrummed within Lily. The courage she summoned had uncovered confidence she never knew existed. She felt the growth reverberate through her body as she spoke up once more. It's not just about saying thank you, she emphasized, reflecting on their profound journey. It's about empowering every voice and ensuring everyone feels they belong here. Let's create channels for feedback where we can all share our ideas, no matter how small. Her voice carried both passion and authority so different from the trepidation she felt only moments before. As the room surged with excitement, Marcus stepped forward, encouraged by her tenacity. We can build a program dedicated to acknowledging contributions. Let us be intentional about celebrating each person's work, fostering collaboration rather than competition. His eyes gleamed with a newfound fervor. This was transformational. Lily and Marcus were no longer alone in their pursuit, but rather the harbingers of a collaborative movement. The murmurs of agreement swept through their colleagues, each voice lifted, affirming the necessary progression towards inclusivity. Mr. Thompson nodded appreciatively, embracing their initiative. "Let us schedule a brainstorming session," he declared with renewed purpose. "We'll devise a system that invites and honors diverse input, ensuring that every team member's perspective plays a role in shaping our future." This commitment galvanized the crowd. As heads nodded and voices melded into a cacophony of ideas, Lily realized she had galvanized more than just change, she had cemented her place as a key contributor within the organization. The anxiety and uncertainty that had previously gripped her were becoming shadows of her past. She had risen to meet her aspirations not just for herself but for everyone who had long felt overlooked. The evening drew to a close, but as Lily looked at her mother who witnessed this incredible milestone unfold, she felt immense pride flood through her. They had shattered the glass ceilings of invisibility together. The triumph wasn't solely in lighting a spark of change but in forging an unbreakable bond founded on respect and acknowledgment. That recognition was not just a singular victory, it was the promise of ongoing transformation. Lily took a deep breath, filled with solid confidence. At that moment, she not only achieved a personal breakthrough but also played a pivotal role in a collective shift that would encourage ongoing conversations about empathy and worth. The future, once murky, sparkled with possibilities, a testament to her courage, compassion, and undeniable growth. Her heart swelled as she envisioned a new culture blossoming within the corporate building, one that valued every individual's unique contribution. She was not just a child with a question anymore, she was a force of nature who had sparked revolutionary change. Now, it's your turn to be part of this story. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that inspire change. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help these powerful messages reach more hearts. Comment your reactions and theories about this. Ending your voice matters. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion, because only true fans of personal overcoming stories understand the importance of supporting our channel through these actions.